Jinwoo moved so fast, he was almost invisible to the hunters. He darted past them, hitting their weak spots one after another. The poison from his dagger made their legs freeze and feel weak. The hunters were in total chaos. "I can't move my body." "Ah!" one of them shouted. "Is this magic?" Another hunter cried out in shock. "Is this magic? You're crazy. Debuff paralysis has been activated. Debuff drain has been activated. Debuff paralysis has been activated. Let me go. Who are you? No. Let me go." There were screams coming from every direction. The 5 hunters surrounding Jinwoo fell to the ground one after another. Thud, 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 thud. Number of enemies to defeat, 1 number of enemies. Defeated 7. Jinwoo turned to look at the last hunter still standing. It was the huge bearded Dongsuk. He threw his shield on the ground with an angry look on his face. He shouted loudly, "Grass!" Then he ran toward Jinwoo. The sound of footsteps echoed as Jinwoo thought about what to do next, while running away. Jinwoo was a tank and had a high C rank. He was probably someone who dealt damage in battles. Even though Jinwoo seemed quick, he likely couldn't overcome Dongsuk's reinforcement skill with just a dagger. When they clashed, Dongsuk thought Jinwoo would be the one to lose. As they got closer, Dongsuk turned his body so his shoulder would hit Jinwoo first. "Reinforcement," he shouted. Suddenly everything spun around, and Dongsuk found himself staring at the dungeon ceiling. He landed hard on the ground with a thud, his head hurt, and his neck and back felt sore from the impact. He tried to get up but his body would not move. Even though he pushed with all his might, Dongsuk could only lie there. He coughed hard. Did he beat me? Had I, Dongsuk, Hwang, lost to this boy? Did he really lose to him in a test of strength? How could someone with an E rank? There must be some mistake. Jinwoo defeated 5 C rank and 3D rank hunters quickly. There was no way this guy was an E rank. Jinwoo stood over Dongsuk. The experienced hunter was losing control of his body. The winner was clear. If this had been a friendly fight or practice match, it would have ended there. But Jinwoo wasn't gonna let him go. "Wait," Dongsuk said, holding up his hand. Please spare my life. I can give you money. You can have whatever you want. Please show mercy 3 times. Jinwoo said coldly. "You tried to kill me 3 times. And now you ask me to spare your life." The first time was when he blocked the entrance to the boss's lair. The second time was when Dongsuk told Jinhyo to kill Jinwoo. The third time was when he told Jinha. Each time Dongsuk tried to get Jinwoo killed. And that did not even count this fight. Jinwoo had decided to pay him back after surviving the underground temple. He wanted to fight back no matter what. It would be an eye for an eye. There was no room for compromise. Dongsuk became furiously angry when he realized begging wouldn't work. Do you think you can get away with this? Do you have any idea who my younger brother?" Crack. He couldn't continue because his neck was broken. Touched. Dongsuk's eyes rolled back. Ping. The number of enemies left was 0. Jinwoo had defeated 8 of them. Jinwoo took his hands away from Dongsuk's head and let out a deep sigh filled with emotion. He stared at his hands. Even though it had been a one-sided fight, he had just killed 8 people, yet his hands were steady. Is this normal? Jinwoo placed a hand on his chest and felt his heartbeat. Boom. Thud thud. His heartbeat sounded normal, as if nothing unusual had occurred. Maybe, he began to think for the first time, that seeing the system might not be the only thing that had changed about him. It could be related to what happened when he came back from the underground temple. He didn't think about it for long because the familiar notification sound interrupted him.
Pang, you have completed the urgent quest, defeat the enemies.
Your rewards have been sent. Do you want to see them? As expected, there were rewards. Jinwoo didn't think twice. He checked right away. Suddenly a message popped up in front of him. Rewards 1, full recovery 2, ability points 10-3, skill murderous intent 10 ability points, and a new skill. Jinwoo's eyes lit up at these amazing rewards. Ability points were always useful, but what really caught his attention was the new skill. He thought about how he had used the dash skill to defeat that giant spider boss. If he hadn't used dash back, then he wouldn't have won the fight. Skills can really affect how a battle turns out. This is why rune stones which teach hunter skills are really expensive. Jinwoo decided to check the skill called Murderous Intent right away. Check reward 3. Pang. Skill Murderous Intent Level 1 Active Skill, uses 100 mana. Creates strong pressure on the chosen target causing extreme panic for 1 minute. You can choose multiple targets at the same time. This is called Panic. It cuts all their abilities in half. It's very rare for a skill to lower all of an enemy's abilities, even if only for a short time. Like other similar effects, it might not work against enemies that have strong defenses. But when it does work, Jinwoo can easily defeat most enemies. Because it could affect many people at once, this created a lot of ways to use it. This is pretty cool. The rewards were huge, just like the penalty would have been. Wait. Thinking about it, these rewards don't seem so amazing after all. The punishment was serious enough to risk his life. Is this really all there is? Jinwoo looked around. He frowned at the horrible scene. He had seen many deaths before, but he still couldn't get used to the sight. This is what the quest had asked for. Jinwoo thought the rewards were not worth all the deaths. He realized that he probably would have fought Dong-suk's group, even if there was no quest. He thought about how greedy people can be, and then shook his head. The cave shook again, harder than before. It was time for Jinwoo to leave the dungeon. But first he wanted to handle a couple of things. Starting with Jinyo, Jinwoo looked at him, feeling bad when the nervous young hunter quickly glanced away. What should Jinwoo do about him? He had no plans to hurt Jinyo. There was no reason to do anything. But Jinwoo could get in trouble if people knew what happened here. I needed to keep him quiet. Jinyo suddenly kneeled down, and bowed his head, interrupting my thoughts. Please spare my life, boss. Jinwoo thought Jinyo would not be as hard to deal with as he feared. Jinyo was shaking, his face turned white as a ghost. He had just seen 8 people killed in an instant right before his eyes. Fear is one of the most powerful ways to control others. Jinwoo decided to try something different in this situation.
Why should I let you go?
Jinwoo asked. Jinwoo's eyes widened in shock. Was that too harsh? Before Jinwoo could doubt himself, Jinwoo spoke up. If you need money, I'll tell my dad. Is that what you think of me? Jinwoo frowned. He had been poor his whole life, but he would never do something like that, just for money. If he had, he would have been just like Dong-suk. I'm so sorry. Jinwoo wanted to scold Jinyo, but the new hunter looked too scared. Jinwoo decided not to say anything, because Jinyo seemed really nervous. Jinyo swallowed hard and looked at Jinwoo with a serious face. Dong-suk also offered him money. Has he given up on wealth and chosen a life of danger instead? Jinyo was confused about what Jinwoo really wanted. But it was too soon to jump to conclusions. Then why did he collect all those essence stones? Jinwoo had checked every part of the spider's stomach for essence stones earlier. Essence stones are like energy-packed rocks. They can be used to make magic tools and other items. To hunters, these stones are as good as money. Things started clicking together in his mind. That's it. Those stones must be blood money. Searching the spider's stomach was easy for him because he felt the stones were fair payment for his work. He was a fighter who showed no mercy but didn't want rewards unless they were earned. When I offered him money for mercy, he got angry. Jinwoo didn't want his father's money. He wanted payment only if he deserved it. Jinwoo still looked upset when Jinhyo glanced at his face. Jinhyo said quickly, "Boss, I'll give you all the profit from this dungeon if you let me live." As expected, this caught Jinwoo's attention. Please think about it, boss. Don't you think people would be suspicious if only you survived out of everyone? Jinhyo was convinced that Jinwoo was not who he seemed to be. He actually thought Jinwoo might be someone very dangerous. So Jinhyo assumed Jinwoo would care what others thought. So what? But remember our deal. If both of us make it out alive, all the magical stones from this place will go to me. No one would suspect you of harming anyone in the group because you had no connection to the stones. Of course Jinhyo wouldn't be a suspect either. He was just the son of someone important at a big company. The money from selling the essence stones would not be much for him. The money is yours, boss. You defeated Dong-suk's group and saved me from them, so it's fairly yours, right? Jinhyo really stressed the word fairly. Jinhyo really stressed the word fairly. Jinhyo knew Jinhyo was right. What he suggested was the safest way for Jinhyo to get the essence stones. No one else had any claim to them. Even though Dong-suk had been selfish, he couldn't take them with him to the afterlife. Now only one person had a right to the essence stones. But Jinhyo was willing to give them to Jinwoo. Jinwoo didn't want to force Jinhyo to hand over the stones. But he thought it would be wrong to refuse such an offer. Plus, if it weren't for Jinwoo, Jinhyo might have been killed or taken hostage. So in a way the stones belonged to him now. When Jinwoo's expression softened, Jinyo figured he had made the right decision. He knew Jinwoo wouldn't say no to the essence stones considering all that had happened with Dongsuk and his men. Even though Jinyo and Jinwoo had different ideas about what rightfully meant, neither of them realized it at the time. Okay, Jinwoo said, and Jinyo's face lit up with a smile. He started to respect Jinwoo a little more because Jinwoo stayed true to his beliefs. But Jinwoo's face turned blank again. How can I trust you? He asked this because he remembered the real reason he was there. He wasn't trying to scare someone to get money. He wanted to avoid problems later. How can I hurt you? You saved my life a few times. He asked. You could not keep your word and tell people what happened here. Right, but even if Jinyo did it, wasn't a big deal for Jinwoo. Killing Dongsuk's squad had been an act of self-defense. All 8 of them were fully armed and attacked Jinwoo first with a strong magic spell. The rules had changed since hunters appeared, so Jinwoo would be found not guilty for sure. Still, he wanted this to stay quiet without causing any problems. To do that, he needed Jinho's complete help. Even though his way of getting Jinho to help had issues, it worked well. Jinwoo stared firmly at Jinho, waiting for an answer. The new hunter was very determined. I'd never do such an unfair thing, Jinho said. Especially to someone who saved my life. Wait. There was something familiar about the look in his eyes. It was like the time he refused to help Dongsuk and his group. This guy, he's telling the truth. Jinyo had chosen Jinwoo in a dangerous situation. He trusted Jinwoo and stood up against 8 other hunters. So Jinwoo decided to trust Jinyo this time. Not right away though, he wanted to teach him a little lesson first. Jinwoo picked up the shield Dongsuk had thrown on the ground. My back still hurts from when Dongsuk stabbed me, he said. He looked at the shield and then threw it at the wall with all his strength. The shield hit the wall hard, leaving more than half of it stuck there. Sweat dripped down Jinho's face as he swallowed hard.
My little brother won't let me down.
Will he asked. Of course not, boss, came the reply. Just then the ground rumbled again. They'd run out of time. Jinwoo never planned to hurt Jinho, so he thought that was enough. Gather all the essence stones, Jinwoo commanded. We're leaving the dungeon. Thank you, boss. Jinho stood up and gave a deep bow. A smile returned to his face. Jinwoo searched Dongsuk's pockets while Jinho retrieved his bag. He didn't want to leave even 1 cent. His fee for the day was $20,000. There were a few dozen $50 bills in Dongsuk's wallet. He counted all the money. It was a bit more than 2 million won. Dongsuk had promised he would pay Jinwoo right after the raid, and it looked like he had the money ready. After all, sometimes there was no need to make things complicated. Thanks for the money. Jinwoo said goodbye quietly to himself and walked ahead. Jinho came back late, holding a bag of essence stones. Boss. All he saw were the bodies of the hunters Jinwoo had defeated. Oh no. Jinho's face turned white, as he ran to catch up to Jinwoo, not wanting to lose him. A member of the Hunters Association's surveillance team arrived at the scene. The process was simple whenever hunters died during a raid. Some hunters died, and others were asked questions, but that's all that happened. The person investigating this time was a middle-aged woman who looked very serious. What are your names? She asked. My name is Jinwoo Sung. I'm Jinyo Yu. Investigations like this were usually just routine, because hunters often died in the line of duty. They mostly did it to keep records, but they would look deeper if something seemed unusual. The investigator put on her glasses and continued questioning them. Let me make sure I understand, she said. All the C-rank hunters died, but a D-rank hunter and an E-rank hunter survived. Her eyes narrowed. Normally the weakest person in the group is the target. She was carefully looking them over, when she noticed something and gasped. Her eyes lit up as she approached. Isn't this Kalian the latest sword from Maya and? Jinyo's eyes widened with excitement. Hey, that's a Royal Series shield made by Gretos, right? He said. You really know your stuff. The man smiled and replied. I don't know much, but I try to keep up with the latest gear. He chuckled and added. This sword costs 700 million won. That's a lot of money. The shield cost a huge amount of money. These weapons were made with a very rare and costly gemstone and other precious materials. They were so powerful that they could make even a lower-ranked hunter much stronger than someone of a higher rank. A plan began to form in her mind about what might have happened in the dungeon. With these weapons, it would still be possible to defeat the magical creatures, even if all the higher-ranked hunters were gone. The lower-ranked hunter probably survived by hiding somewhere. It was the opposite of what really happened. But that's what she thought. It was really hard to believe that someone who could buy expensive weapons like these would betray their team for just a few essence stones. An E-rank hunter wouldn't be strong enough to hurt so many C-rank hunters, so their deaths must have been accidental. The investigator nodded, looking happy with what she found, and closed her notebook. Now that's settled. You're free to go. Thanks for your help today. It was a long day. Jinwoo replied for both of them. The officer left as fast as she arrived. Great job, boss. Jinhyo said with a bow. His good manners stayed with him, even outside the gate. It seemed like he was really afraid of Jinwoo. Jinwoo thought to himself, "You too." "No, I didn't do anything. You did all the work. Here are the essence stones, boss." Jinju politely handed the bag to Jinwoo. The bag was filled with essence stones. A small essence stone from a lower-ranked dungeon could be worth up to 10,000 won. Even tiny ones could cost millions of won. Jinwoo quickly counted the essence stones with his eyes, and tried hard not to get too excited. How much is all this worth? He struggled to hold back his laughter. Suddenly water drops fell inside the bag. Plip, plip. Jinwoo looked up. The sky slowly turned cloudy throughout the afternoon, and then it started raining. Jinwoo felt glad he had reminded his sister Gina to bring an umbrella. Thinking about her made him smile a little. Later that night, when Jinwoo got home, he quickly checked his stats screen. Stats: strength 53, stamina 30, agility 38, intelligence 30, perception 32. He had 10 extra points to use, which he got as a reward from completing an urgent quest. He was eager to use them. They were equal to the rewards for 3 daily quests, plus 1 more point, or for leveling up twice. He first put points into agility, and then perception. He spent 7 points on agility, and the rest on perception. His stats now look like this: strength 53, stamina 30, agility 45, intelligence 30, perception 35. He had no ability points left to use. Great. His abilities were much better overall. Agility was almost as high as strength now, and perception had reached 35 points. He thought about adding points to stamina once his strength and agility were more balanced. He wanted to keep all his stats equal, except for intelligence, which he still didn't understand how to use. Should I look at today's achievements? Name: Jinwoo Sung, job, none, HP 2, 600, fatigue 0, level 21, title Wolf Assassin, NP 390. Stats: strength 53, stamina 30, agility 45, intelligence 30, perception 35. Available ability points: 0. Skills: passive skill unknown LV, max willpower LV, 1. Active skill -LV, 1. Murderous intent LV, 1. His eyes focused on his level, which had gone up 3 times, and then on the new murderous intent skill he had gained. His stats were looking really good after he used 10 points to boost them. These achievements were impressive, but there was more. Each day there was a cost of 2,000 won. He also had a bag full of essence stones, which are small items that hold special power. Jinwoo counted the stones. He found 11 from the spider and 38 from Dongsuk's group, making 49 in total. Each stone was worth 5 million won, so he had over 200 million won. This was a lot because he kept all the money meant for 10 people. He ended up getting everything he wanted without any problems. All I needed to do was sell them. Selling these stones was easy because people bought them as soon as they were available. There were so many customers waiting to buy them. The only thing left was figuring out how he wanted to sell them. It was more common to sell to another hunter in a private deal, but sometimes a guild or a company would buy the stones too. Jinwoo thought selling to a specialty store would be better than selling privately or online, since he had a lot of essence stones. Wouldn't it be easier if the system shop just bought them at a fair price? Jinwoo pushed the bag into a corner as he thought. He suddenly remembered that he had done something else. He realized he could now buy something from there, so he called up the shop right away. Even though it wasn't a lot, he still had the gold he had collected from the instance dungeon at Hapchung Station. Jinwoo said purchase and heard a familiar chime. Then many items appeared for him to buy. The shop sold all sorts of things like potions, accessories, armor, and weapons. As expected, the better the item was, the more expensive it cost. The most expensive one cost 10 billion gold. Wow. 10 billion gold. Jin Woo had only 11,000 gold. The amount wasn't enough to buy something nice, but Jin Woo wasn't in a hurry. He had all the time he needed. Right? So if I save enough gold I can buy these things. He began humming while looking at the pricey stuff. This gave him a new reason to keep exploring those dungeons. He was excited about the surprise box he'd get after finishing his task tomorrow. 3 days ago Jin Woo came back from the C-rank gate. Jenna got home early that day since it was Saturday. She took off her shoes and smelled something familiar in the air. Did you get fried chicken? I had it delivered. Because I knew you'd be home around now. Wow! Jinwoo waved for Gina to come over. She ran straight to him. What's up?